Welcome to A Mason's Work, the podcast where we review Masonic symbols and illustrate how they can be used to solve problems in everyday life. With your host, Brian Mattocks, a proud member of the Craftsman Online Media Network.
Okay, so if purpose isn't some sort of, beam of light from the sky that showers you with all of the things that you need in order to just feel fulfilled, then what is it? How do we get there? What happens when you find it? All of that good stuff. Okay, so first things first, right? I'm going to tell you about a brief time in my life where I struggled with this. It wasn't actually brief now that I'm thinking about it. It was much longer than I'd hoped. It may have been a decade. So right out of school, it was really important to select what you were going to do, right? Like you had to figure it out in this meaningful way where, like, particularly if you're going to college, right? They tell you, like, pick your education. This is a decision that's really important. And if you get the wrong degree, then it's going to hurt your chances in life. And so I spent a decade in and out of school trying to figure it out. Like I was in some way going to have this meaningful insight as to what, I wanted to do with what I perceived to be at the time the entirety of the rest of my life. And so the decision actually itself became so heavy and so sort of materially weighty that I just struggled with it. And if you ask me to this day what I ended up choosing, it really doesn't make any sort of meaningful sense. And this brings us in a lot of ways to the point. What happens, one of the best ways to discover purpose is through work, believe it or not, and through work on yourself. The entirety of this podcast, since it very first started, was in many ways always about helping you identify the sort of conceptual issues, the fallacies that we create for ourselves, and using the working tools of the craft to help essentially conduct this kind of excavation of a better version of yourself. And that is as true to your purpose as anything else you're ever going to do. When you put yourself in situations where, behaviors arise that you don't like, or where you experience things that are very difficult, it is in precisely those places you begin to excavate the area around your plumb. If you can imagine this, your purpose, your plumb, in a lot of ways, the thing that makes you true to you is buried. Over the course of the first 20 years of your life, you tend to bury your plumb. Now, for some people, this doesn't happen. So if you're one of those folks who've kind of always been this way, then you can disregard the rest of the series. But if you're like me, you essentially bury a big part of your sort of plumb, if you will, for the first 20 years or so of your life. And then you spend the remaining years of your life, however long that is, excavating that, understanding how you've manipulated your own behavior to map to the environment, to create these behaviors that essentially hide who you are from the world. And so in that excavation, in finding your plumb, you begin the process of cultivating a sense of purpose. So how can we do this intentionally? The best way that I have found is to start doing things that are uncomfortable. Places where you don't have a high expectation of success out of the gate. You put yourself in scenarios, and I don't want to say like life-threatening, but low risk, unfamiliar territory. And when you do that, what happens is you can better observe your natural reactions to the way things are and say, oh, in this place of discomfort, I am reacting in this way, or I'm reacting in that way. Maybe there's something to that. And as you start that excavation, as you start pulling those sort of behaviors apart, you begin to realize that there are some ways that you approach solving problems that are more or less uniquely you. And we'll talk more about how do we nurture those things and what does that look like. One of the difficulties with a topic like this in general is because it's so specific to who you are, any of the solutions that I'm going to show you come from me because they're specific to me. You might find that that resonates with you or that it's completely foreign. And either way, that's useful data for you to figure out kind of how to free your plumb from the places that you've gotten it stuck. We'll talk more about that tomorrow.
The views represented in this podcast are those of the speaker alone and are not representative of any grand or subordinate lodge.
Hi, Brian here. I wanted to thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you have any suggestions or guidance for further episodes you'd like to see or hear, whatever the case may be, please don't hesitate to reach out to me at masonswork.com, and we will try and incorporate your suggestions into a future recording. Thanks.
Freemasonry teaches us that the true work is within, a lifelong journey of reflection, discipline, and discovery. At A Mason's Work, we help Masons bring out their best selves through meaningful self-inquiry and symbolic practice. From personal reflection to lodge engagement, we offer tools that turn symbols into action. Visit us at amasonswork.com. The work is within. The time is now.